There are 5 numbers I think every new parent needs to know. And I want to tell you about my relationship with statistics. I love statistics. I love data. It's so helpful to have information that reminds you of the world outside you. I'm struggling with something and I realize, oh, a lot of people are struggling with that too. So grounding and normalizing. And data doesn't mean we're not allowed to have feelings. Sometimes we learn something is common and still we have feelings, and that's totally normal. Both are true in helping us process something we're going through. Over and over, I see the same thing with new parents. We let new parents be completely surprised by completely predictable moments. And there are 5 numbers that help remove the surprise by different situations that are on most parents' journey of the first couple weeks and months. And I want you to still give yourself permission to have feelings because they'll still be there. All right, let's jump in. 66%. 66% of births don't go according to plan. 2/3. 2 of every 3 people have a birth that they would say, I had a whole birth plan. I worked on a birth plan. I researched that plan. I communicated that plan maybe even, and still 2 out of 3 people said that didn't happen. Now, I think there's a logical part of us that we hear this and we say, okay, I'm making a plan. And if it doesn't go my way, if I'm in that 66%, whatever, it's fine. But here's the reality. And here's what's going on emotionally. And here's what I really want you to know. A lot of us have lived a life before baby where effort leads to outcome, where research leads to a good grade, where the studying and the outlining and kind of doing everything we can to the best of our effort does lead to better results. And I want you to take a moment and check in with yourself and say, have I been that kind of person? There's nothing shameful about it. I'll raise my hand. I was that kind of person. I studied a lot for my tests. When I was making a decision, I did all the research. I read the sources. And so I think going into my own first pregnancy and birth, I didn't even realize that model, effort, planning, research leads to outcome was somewhere deep in my body. My brain was saying, if it doesn't go this way, it's fine. But my body's learning was very different. And so if you're in that category, knowing that 66% of births don't go as planned is very helpful. And it's important to know you probably are a little predisposed to have a big reaction if your birth doesn't go to plan, not because just of the birth, just because it's a little bit of a worldview change. Like, hold on a second. Is this whole next stage of my life going to be one where I could make the plan, put in the effort, do the research, do all the stuff in advance and still not see kind of an increased likelihood of the positive outcome? You ready to brace for my answer? Because I learned this the hard way. Yeah, that is kind of what so much of parenthood is. I do the things, I do the research, I figure it out, and then, that latch didn't latch. That nap didn't happen. That rolling over isn't happening yet, whatever it is. And if we start to tell ourselves the story of, I guess it was my fault. Maybe I should have researched more, maybe more effort, maybe more planning, then we spiral. But if we can say to ourselves, hold on, this is just a new stage of life. I did research my birth. I did have preferences. And being in that 66% doesn't mean I'm failing. It doesn't mean I should have or could have. It means I'm in that group where things did not go according to plan. I can have feelings about that. I will over time learn how to tell myself a story about that. That starts to feel better. And yeah, this is a totally different stage of my life. If you're in that right now, and if you're listening thinking, oh my goodness, that's me. I do have so many feelings about birth didn't go the way I planned. I want to share a couple of things with you that you might need to hear. I'm sorry that happened. If everybody's saying healthy baby, healthy mom annoys you, I totally understand. Because yes, that's true, but it also ignores your reaction and feelings around it. It stinks that you had a way you wanted it to go, and it didn't turn out that way. 66% of births don't go as planned. That's really important to know. Real proof that you're not alone. Let's get to the second number, 8 to 12. 8 to 12 what? Ready? 8 to 12 feeds in 24 hours is normal for a newborn baby. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but I think we should go over the math in this because I remember hearing this for my first child and just thinking logically, yeah, babies eat a lot. Babies eat a lot. But here's what the reality is. Didn't I just feed him? Like truly, I fed my baby for 45 minutes. Maybe it's early. I'm trying to figure it out. It feels like it's been an hour and I feel like I haven't even peed since this morning and I'm back to feeding. How is that happening? Well, this is the math that nobody told me before and I want to remove the surprise for you. Feedings kind of start in a moment and then they can go 60 minutes. And then the next feeding can start soon. And so the amount of time, not between feeds, this is so important. The amount of time between the end of one feed and the start of the next feed, that's the time that nobody really talks to us about. And if there's 8 to 12 moments of feeding, stages of feeding in 24 hours, you can start to think about how many minutes do I have to sleep or to rest or to go to the bathroom or to drink water or to eat something. There's this loop that happens, right? Feeding, burping, diapering, spitting up, changing again. And all of a sudden it feels like I'm back to the feeding at the beginning. It feels like Groundhog's Day. That's emotionally what that 8 to 12 feels like in reality. It doesn't feel like, oh, that's a lot. No. It feels like this endless cycle where you are just kind of a body for your baby and you can't even locate yourself. And if you're in it now, here's what I wish someone said to me, and I'm going to say to you. The moment when you've time to yourself, and I'm not even talking about time for anything major, time for yourself for water, for a snack, to go get that phone charger, whatever you need, doesn't just come. I think before having a baby, these moments arrive. Oh, here's that time I can do this thing for myself. I can make myself a meal. That's time we have to carve out. We have to fight for. And it often comes at the expense of something else. Often, if you're in a stage of those 8 to 12 feedings in 24 hours, it is a choice. Do I drink water or do I fold laundry? And I'm going to tell you what you should do. You should drink that water. Don't even get me started on whether baby's clothes need to be folded. I think you should just throw them in a drawer anyway. But definitely get that glass of water. Definitely eat that sandwich, even if it's just with one hand. And I think what I'm saying is in those moments of 8 to 12, fight for a little bit of something for yourself. Because actually, if you're just running yourself into the ground those 24 hours without 30-second break, a minute break, a shower, that's when we feel like there's nothing left. All right, ready for number 3? 2. What does the number 2 mean? 2 is the number of hours a cluster feed can last. You heard about cluster feeding? Makes you think, oh, cluster feeding's a thing. All right, I'll deal with that when I get there. Cluster feed sounds good. A lot of feedings in a row. How efficient? No, it does not feel efficient. It is 2 hours sometimes of this back and forth as you and your baby are figuring out this rhythm. And so in reality, your brain's not going to say when that comes, oh, this is a cluster feed. You are going to be on day 4. It is going to be 7 p.m. You're going to be on the couch and you're going to be thinking, she's been attached to me for 90 minutes. Then you're going to think something else. You're going to think, I thought that would feel bonding. Why do I want to crawl out of my skin? Or maybe you're thinking, I love my baby so much. And can this be an and, not a but? And yes, it can be an and. I want my body back. Just for like a minute. Maybe just for 5 minutes. I just want my body back. Can both be true? Both can be true. I think this is one of the ultimate things that we need to build. It's like a real skill set going into early parenthood. The skill, as we call it at Good Inside, of 2 things are true. I love my baby so much, and always use the word and, not but. I want my body back. Oh my goodness, feeding my baby is this amazing thing I can do. And I would like a little time to myself. I'm so grateful to be a parent. And I remember when 7 p.m. on the couch and something different. I'm at least a little bit wistful about those moments. All of those ands make you totally normal. And in my mind, just totally human. As humans, we have something called multiplicity. We generally tend to feel multiple things at the same time and think multiple thoughts at the same time. And if we look at them from a one thing is true mindset, we say, which is more true? Oh no, what does that mean about me? If you remember that word multiplicity, you remember the sentence starter, wait, I was listening to this podcast, 2 things are true, use the word and, then you could just lay those 2 things next to each other. It's amazing that I have this baby I can feed, and I am exhausted and would like my body back. All of that can be true without resolution. And if you're in that right now, maybe you're like, this is crazy. I'm literally in a cluster feed right now. My suggestion to you is just to text someone, right? And just write something simple, right? Cluster feed hour 2. Send something, right? Have your friend send you an emoji heart. Maybe they send you food to your apartment. Maybe they send you a meme to make you laugh. I think in these moments, it's the isolation that really spirals us. You feel a little kind of non-human toward the end because you're just feeding your baby nonstop. Anything back to you, it's like, oh, right, someone's seeing me. There I am. All right, ready for the 4th stat? 1 in 5. 1 in 5 is the stat for moms who develop postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. And in my experience working with so many new moms, every single one of them thinks they're the only one. So what does logic say to this stat? Okay, it's common. PPD, PPA, common, cool, common, got that. But when it comes and when it hits like a wave, our body, our mind says something very different. And I want to tell you what it can sound like or look like. Checking my baby's breathing nonstop. And to some degree, that's normal, but maybe by day 8, day 10, I literally can't stay in bed or sleep even for a moment because I'm checking every minute. And my anxiety is taking over. I'm holding my baby and I feel nothing. And that's not actually the sign of a struggle. The sign is the story I tell myself. What is wrong with me? I have this wave of dread every day, right around sunset. I call that the sunset scaries. Not inherently indicative of postpartum depression or anxiety, but sometimes is a part of the experience. Quick way of orienting around what these acronyms mean, right? PPD is postpartum depression. Usually, not always, because everyone's different, but it's numbness and grief and disconnection and a lot of crying you can't explain and often a ton of self-blame inside your head. PPA is postpartum anxiety, a little different. Often a lot of kind of nonstop checking, right? Which again, we all do for some kind of amount of time, but you're noticing it's kind of taking a life of its own. Racing or intrusive thoughts, that sunset dread in a way that's really, really heavy and dark for a while. And maybe I can't even sleep because I'm so activated. So the normal exhaustion becomes kind of doubled down on. What I want you to know is you don't have to kind of prove you're struggling. You don't have to prove that it's bad enough to get help. Is it bad enough? Am I struggling enough? Do other people have this worse? Does this really count? I think the barometer we have for getting help or getting an evaluation is just off. People say this to me all the time. How bad does it have to get? Does this warrant an evaluation? I just think about it differently, and I'm going to lend a different perspective in case you want to pick it up. Could I use another team member? Could I use another team member? It's such a different bar. Do I get an evaluation? Do I need it? Could I have another team member kind of looking into this for me? It's almost like there's the you who's struggling, and then there's some wise you looking without judgment at just who else you might need on your team. That's how I'd really think about it. And if you're in it right now, if anything I said makes you think, oh my goodness, that's so me, reach out to someone, partner, an in-law, a parent, a friend, your OB. And you don't have to know. Sometimes we think we need certainty to take a next step. I like to reverse that. Uncertainty is often when a next step helps. You might say to someone or text to someone, I think I might be dealing with postpartum depression. I think I might be dealing with postpartum anxiety. Can we talk? And in that case, what I would say to your partner is, I think we should call someone because I love you. And maybe you even add, and I'm going to do the heavy lifting of finding someone great for you. Again, because I love you. You know, the person in it sometimes can't see it. And that's not weakness. That's not stubbornness. That's just kind of how it works sometimes. All right, ready for the last stat? 0. 0 is the number of guaranteed postpartum home visits in the United States. And this is the only wealthy kind of country compared to their peers where we have 0. Every other country in a recent study guarantees at least one postpartum visit to a parent. And in Switzerland, 16. What does the logical part of our brain say? I hope even the logical part of your brain has an emotional response to this. What? Say that again? 0, and we're the only kind of peer nations where it's 0? Yes. And let me tell you, I have such anger around that on a policy societal level that I want to rally around. And how do we kind of live this in reality? I think day 6 comes and we're like, what? No one's coming. Maybe my friends texted for a few days and it's not even their fault. Maybe I had a partner who went back to work really, really fast. Maybe I had a parent who checked in, but then stopped after a certain number of days. And you're just wondering, how do I do this? And I just want to remind you what happens just in those number of days after having a baby. Are you ready for this? Stitches, bleeding, hormone crash, learning to feed a human, sleep debt that just alters your brain, an identity earthquake. Who am I now that I have this baby? A relationship reorganization because everything in your partnership feels different. And the system says, see you at 6 weeks at your OB appointment. Then I'll tell you can have sex. Enjoy that. I'm sorry, what? That's what we're dealing with that 0. If you feel like you're drowning, if you think it's because you're bad at this, I'm going to say this with love, you're wrong. I'm sorry, I don't say that often. I like to be very curious about people's experience, but I feel very strong. If you feel like you're drowning and you feel like that drowning feeling means you're bad at this, with love and so much respect, you're wrong. You're not wrong for needing support, but you're wrong as the kind of reductionistic conclusion that you're bad at it. What's very true is this is too much for one person alone. And it seems like every other peer country to ours has recognized that at a policy level. This was never supposed to be one person. If you're in that right now, I'd love you to open up a note on your phone. And if you're thinking, does she mean that right now? Like go to my notes app on my phone and open it now. Yeah, we can multitask a little bit. Open it up. And I want you to just write a few things down. Number 1, what you're noticing in your body without judgment. That's the hard part. You might write down nipples cracking, still bleeding. Just write down a few things that you notice. And I want you to write down this sentence. That makes sense. I just went through a major physical event. Number 3, I want you to write down how you feel. 1 word, 2 words. And if you don't have feeling words, it could be racing heart, can't sleep, sad, overwhelmed. And then I want you to write down something similar to what you wrote down after the physical stuff. That makes sense. I just gave birth to a baby. I just had a baby. That makes sense. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to write down the name of someone. And it's someone you're going to reach out to today. Might not be a nurse. I'm going to guess it's someone who isn't perfect. Oh, what if they say the wrong thing? What if they think I'm too much? But it's someone. It could be a partner. It could be a friend. It could be a therapist. Someone you're going to reach out to and maybe be a little bit more honest about what this has been like. Because generally when we do that, those people are actually really grateful to receive it. One little tip. I think a lot about the difference between the word admit and share. We use the word admit a lot when I think it could be upgraded to share, and I don't think it's just semantics. I think it has very big impact on us. I want to admit to you I'm not maybe doing as well as I thought. Think about how different it is to say to someone, I want to share something with you. This has been harder than I thought it would be. It actually is an easier thing to say. I think admit is kind of shrouded in shame, and share is kind of an invitation for someone to get to know you better. So for that person that you wrote down, I want you to think about what you would share with them. And if you're already a member of Good Inside, what I want to make sure you know is there's a lot of professionals right there. It's kind of why we built the app. I don't think right away I can make these home visits happen. Trust me, I want to work toward that. But sometimes on your phone to know you have Dominique, an amazing nurse who specializes in feeding, and Jilly, an amazing nurse who specializes in baby sleep, and me and other expert coaches to go to a live event with. I hope you come. I hope you RSVP. I hope you know that's there for you. All right. I want to close this out by breathing together. I'm actually going to do that right here with you, just so you see what it looks like. It's nothing that fancy, just putting a hand on my heart. Maybe just follow this pattern. Breathe in. And hold your lips like you have a straw, which forces you to breathe out slowly. These numbers aren't meant to scare you. I think we often have it wrong there. The thing that ends up scaring us and spiraling us and leading to us telling ourselves horrible stories about who we are is that we don't have these numbers. And we don't know about the feelings we're going to have. That's the scariest thing of all when we're kind of navigating this without a map. What you're going through is a really complicated, really arduous, really hard stage. Just so you know, when I went through this with my 3 kids, it was hard every freaking time. I didn't crush new parenthood 0% of the time. You don't need to be tougher. You don't need to be stronger. I think the boldest and most kind of intergenerational changing thing we can say to ourselves is, I deserve more support. That's the core truth. You know, there's a theme here that I think is really, really important. We can't take away all the hard moments. Like we said, a stat applies to us, it's still hard. It doesn't apply to us, something still might be hard. But the thing that spirals us is when we feel alone and we feel surprised. I always think about driving to somewhere far away, and it's a long journey, and you get to a part of the road that's really, really bumpy, or you look around and you're like, oh, this is a little bit of a tricky area, and you don't have a map. What would you say to yourself? I can tell you what I'd say. Turning around, I must be somewhere bad. This is wrong. And I think we do that to ourselves with new parenthood all the time. But if I had a map on the journey, I think that tricky, curvy, bumpy part would still be hard. It wouldn't be my favorite part of the journey, but I would say to myself, I'm on track. This is a hard place, and it's the place I'm actually supposed to be. That self-talk is everything. There's no non-curvy, non-bumpy road through new parenthood. But knowing what some of the bumps are and knowing what some of the hard parts are, it actually completely changes how you experience it. Let's end the way we always do. Place your feet on the ground, place a hand on your heart. And let's remind ourselves, even as we struggle on the outside, we remain good inside. You've got this. I'll see you soon.